Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review, and for this review Duncan Kyle and I have been checking out the new EP from six-piece deathcore band Distant. The band's new EP Dusk of Anguish will be released on March 19th via Unique Leader Records. So Distant are back with Dusk of Anguish, which comes 5 months after the release of their 2020 EP Dawn of Corruption.
Which is Dave is responsible for. Dave is responsible for. Listen to the review that we did back then. Dave is responsible for this because I said that EP was enough, guys.
Ask for more.
EP released, and Dave was like, "No, I could totally go another." And then they were like, "All right, 5 months. Can we knock another? Yeah, let's just do it."
Surprised they didn't just call it. Thanks, Dave. This is for you.
Well, the D in Dusk of Anguish it should be Dave of Anguish. We're changing it.
Track one, Dave.
Yep.
If you've never heard of Distant before, they only formed in 2014, and they hail from the Netherlands and Slovakia. They have released one album to date, and Dusk of Anguish will be their third EP. As I mentioned, we reviewed their 2020 EP, and we're pretty impressed with it, to be honest. The band ended up winning our I Think I've Shit My Pants award in our Metal Epidemic award ceremony.
One of the heaviest fucking things I heard last year, like needlessly heavy, to the point where and you know what the thing is, Unique Leader appear to be releasing albums like twice a week now. That maybe a bit of that shine's worn off just because I've heard some absolutely insanely fucking brutally heavy shit already, and it is only just starting March. And you know, it's literally this time last year we were just getting ready to bring Metal Epidemic to a recorded format, so we were just gearing up to do the first podcast. And I remember then, I was listening to a few things and going, "Oh, the music's getting a bit heavier, isn't it?" And now when I hear on and I'm like that, it is so fucking heavy that I think I'm numb to it. I actually think you have to be Distant heavy for me to draw a face now. Or you have to use the word Unique Leader Records for my bills to tighten because they know that there's a chance that they might listen too much. That previous release, this is the age-old debate here between me and Dave. That previous release was an EP, which I think is the perfect format for Distant. Right? I think no longer than an EP, because I think by the time you get to the last song on that previous release, and by the time you get to the last song on this release in particular, I am fucking exhausted. Absolutely exhausted, because there is no... we'll get into it, but there is no give for this band at all. And they're another band that just seem to have an additional gear for heaviness, which you just can easily... And they just drop into it whenever they want. And I don't necessarily... What's weird about this one is I think this one is more diverse sounding than their previous release. I don't necessarily think it's heavier than their previous release.
No?
But no. I think there are sections here where they do things... Weirdly, there's one or two tracks where they don't layer up their 3 guitars. The bass is complete. There's a couple of bass-driven riffs as well, which... But the weird thing about it is, they're using all that stuff that we're talking about before in terms of ominous sounds in the background that I was scared shitless. Even more than if they played fucking 3 guitars over the top of it. Yeah. So I think instead of doing the wall of sound that you got in the previous one, I think what they've leaned more into in certain parts, not in all the EP for sure, but in certain parts here, they've leaned more into that. We can create a very ominous, very unsettling sound without giving you absolutely every instrument in the band. So when I say heaviness, I'm meaning in terms of just that wall of sound. That I felt personally, this felt a bit more tactile in parts than the previous release, but it's still, it ages you. It finishes, and it really, really fucking does. And there's a... Maybe that's why they just do EPs now. I want to say maybe that's why, because I think that the beauty of an EP as well, it's one of the reasons like bands like Down started doing EPs, is they're easier to manage. Typically, if you're a band like this, you're not headlining, and if you are headlining, you're not playing an hour and a half. You know what I mean? So you can do these. You can very, very easily curate a series of songs that you can play live, and they're all interchangeable in a way which makes sense, if you know what I mean. Like, just off those two EPs, they will have one of the most punishing live sets around, like just in general. But what I might as well, I've started talking, so I might as well just continue on. I thought this was great. Now, I really liked the previous one, although it exhausted me. I feel that I enjoyed this one more, and the reason I enjoyed it more is for the reasons I mentioned. It felt like at times they were being a bit more savvy with how they used their instrumentation. We had already done a reaction video for the track that featured guest vocals from What's These Tits from Alpha Wolf.
Yep.
What's These Tits is because I can't remember your name, and it's not demeaning at all. I love Alpha Wolf. And that track we listened to, it was the most disgustingly fucking, like, pungently heavy. Pungent's a great word to use. Pungently heavy track on a night of pungently heavy tracks that we were reacting to. It really stood out, and coming into this one, it is perfectly placed on the EP because it breaks up. Vocally, though, he's just as fucking brutal. He's got a different tone, but it's just fucking nasty and vicious. You're still getting the tsunami of fucking detuned riffs getting flung at you. But what I like about them is they have this thing that they do where it's still the same speed, but the guitars sound like they're going a little bit faster than what they should, and then they slow down to match the speed. And it's really, really cleverly done, because you think, all right, here comes the breakdown, here comes the boom, and they don't do it. They jog on with this riff for a little bit and then bring it back in. So it's this kind of false positive of a breakdown, but it's still crushingly fucking heavy because they don't need to do it. I really enjoyed the last track as well. The last track is the one that, you know, sounds like it could have come right from Pinhead's mind, from a horror movie. It's pure horror recorded in Ravka. Really kind of brought things in and just added that ominous level that I really, really wanted. But I think it's Dusk of Anguish is the track that didn't start off as like right to the fucking jaw as what I expected, but builds up, and by the end of that track it is so fucking brutally heavy. It's almost indescribable. I think when you throw words like heavy around, people have a notion of what that sounds like, and Distant are heavier. Like, whatever you're picturing right now in your head as too heavy, Distant are either exactly what you're picturing or heavier. Like, there's no like, oh, they weren't as heavy as I thought bullshit. like absolute bullshit. It's once again, it's a very meticulously set out, recorded, crushing album EP from a record label that seems to now have cornered the market for ridiculously punishing, grueling, well-produced metal. Like, there's not one thing they've put out this year that I feel is even remotely on a level that I'm used to hearing, and all of it is produced so fucking clear. I think of some other labels which they try and bring in all these different heavier bands, but you know, like, there's layers there. The only layers that are here is that they seem to be going heavier, which I didn't think was possible. So yeah, I thought this was great. I think they are a shoe-in for pant shitting album of the year in the Metal Epidemic Awards in December, because there ain't many bands walking around that are just doing what these guys are doing. You know what I mean? It's weird to describe. They're not doing anything remarkable at all in their music. What they are just doing is just giving you some of the heaviest shit that you're going to put in your ears. And 6 songs in an EP format is enough for this group. And Dave's going to tell you it's not, and 5 months from now there'll be another EP called Dave Was Right. But yeah, this is, I think I preferred this over 5 months ago. Overall, it's not been listened to nearly as much as the previous one, but I felt there was more going on here, and I felt like they didn't need to have at times it wasn't. I wasn't being bludgeoned by 3 guitars, which on that previous one I was getting bludgeoned by 3 guitars and a guest guitarist on one of the songs. And they're like 4 guitars. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Cool. Kyle, what did you make of this one?
There's a lot of stuff I could echo from Duncan's tirade.
Tirade?
It was,
I like it.
Sorry, torrent.
So,
Torrent of information.
yeah. Verbal diarrhea.
It was, yeah, that's. I'm not that rude, but yeah. They only call me the dream killer because I'm not that rude, right?
The dream killer.
On paper, or whatever you write with nowadays in 2021, this band should really work for me. Like, it really should. It's slow, it's down tempo, it's heavy as fuck, it's low tuned, and in practice, absolutely does.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, it's great. The thing is, I did listen to I know I wasn't on the recording, but I did listen to the previous one, and I agree. The 6 tracks was like, yeah, that's enough. Okay, wow, that was, I'm exhausted. I am so tired after listening to it. And this time, they've dialed it back, but also dialed it up, and I don't quite get how. Like, it's still really heavy, but in some parts it's not quite, but I don't know what they've done, but I mean, it's working for them very well. And like you said, they don't have a remarkable sound. They're not really standing out in any way through their sound, but they are in other ways through their structures and how they structure the songs and what they're using at certain times. Like you said, they're not using the 3 guitars all the fucking way through. They're doing different things, bits here and there. But I can't put my finger on it, and that's what's interesting, because it's like, it just makes you want to listen more and wants you to get deeper into the band. And I think, like you said as well, the 6-track EP is perfect for them because it's already a long release at 6 tracks. It's not, it's not 15 minutes and done. It's almost, at least it's almost half an hour, I think.
It's about 22 minutes in mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's a heavy 22 minutes. Holy crap! And it's like, wow. And but you want to listen to it over and over again to try and figure out what the hell they've done, because the first one was all the way through, heavy as hell, really, really good. Okay, oh my god, I'm tired. Let me go. And this one was, like I said, dialed down but dialed up at the same time, and I just can't put my finger on it.
It's weird to describe, isn't it? It's really weird to describe. I don't know how it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've clearly got some very clear influences in their sound and how they're producing their songs and everything, but maybe it's because it's got that, it's slightly different influences from like Slovakia and the Netherlands and stuff, so things that we can't put on, that I don't hear that much music coming out of Slovakia that's, this heavy and all this. So maybe it's got something to do with that, but I quite enjoyed it, quite like it. Yeah. And the production was really good. I could hear everything, even if the drums may or may not have been sampled. I'm not going to comment. This time, maybe. But the production was very good, and whoever did the production did a good job. They did a very good job, so I was happy to hear that it wasn't like super duper clean and everything was squeaky, but it wasn't like shit that you couldn't hear anything either. So it was very, very well done. I think it suited the band's sound very well. So
yeah. It's weird. I thought I was going to be on my own with this one, but I kind of feel the same way as you guys. Like, this is like, it's still heavy as fuck, but for some reason, it wasn't quite as exhausting as that last EP for me. I mean, I found the last EP okay. It was quite a lot to take on, but with this one, it was weird. It was like there was parts like in that Cryogenesis that we reacted to. There's a part at the end of that track that's just ridiculous. Like, when you think it's already hit its heaviest point, and you're like, oh no, wait a minute, it's going to drop again, and then it goes heavier, and it's just like, what the fuck? But
how did you make that happen?
Yeah, it's so weird. This one, it kind of picks up where Dawn of Corruption kind of left off. Like, it tonally did feel quite similar, in that it still makes you have that really uneasy feeling for its entirety. And again, it's like just rammed with discordant breakdowns and teeth rattling blasts and stuff. Very varied in tempo and rhythm and stuff. Possibly even more so than Dawn of Corruption. Hellmouth was probably my favourite track from that last EP. But with Dusk of Anguish, I felt like there was more to kind of grab onto this time. Like, I felt like a lot of the grooves landed really well on this, and part of that was down to the guitar tone on this EP for me. The guitar tone on this had a lot more kind of sharpness and more kind of bite to it. that really like cuts through the mix on this EP. Same with a lot of the drum sounds. That snare on the EP, it's really punchy this time around. And if you listen to like track 3, the Eternal Lament, you'll hear what I mean. Like when that snare hits and the groove kicks in, it's just utterly colossal. Then you've got all that kind of ominous, eerie lead work and the atmosphere sitting in the background, just giving the whole thing such a kind of bleak and intimidating feel. And like I said on the last review, I think it's that stuff that really sets this band apart. That kind of sinister layer really takes this band from being another punishingly heavy deathcore band, and it gives them almost like a kind of shriek of individuality and distinction. And I'm not saying that Distant are the only ones doing this type of thing, but I haven't heard anyone else use it to this level and incorporate it so well into their sound. And you can hear that, like even between the two EPs, that they're getting better at it as well. You know, they know when to ramp it up and when to just kind of pull back on it just a little bit, let the riffs take more of the kind of spotlight. I thought after our reaction, Cryogenesis was going to be like my favourite track on the EP, because it is a monster of a track. It kind of takes like that heaviness to the next level. But I must admit, I really liked Graveborn, which is the track just after Cryogenesis. The drumming is unbelievable. Like some of the blasts, the speeds that it gets is unbelievable, just ridiculous. And structure-wise, it's one of the shorter, more kind of straightforward tracks in the EP. But I love the synths and the atmospheric sounds. On that track were just brilliant. I thought they nailed it. The chords they used and the balance of the mix on that was just perfect. It reminded me a little of a band called Aegaeon, who they haven't put anything out in about 3 or 4 years, but they're very good at kind of matching the atmosphere with kind of brutal heaviness, and I think that Distant did a really great job on it. It really stuck with me, that track, like after I'd listened to it. I'm going to disagree with Duncan here again, though. I felt like I want a full length. I want a full length album from these guys. I feel like I'd listened to that EP and I felt like I'd just stretched. You know, I was just warming up. I was like, I'm ready to go.
Fucking death wish. I don't think I could survive.
Here's the thing. Here's my counter. Here's my counter to that. My counter to that is, in 5 months they've released an EP and another EP which sounds different. Both of which I think are great examples. I think if you have, I like that format, that like potentially within a year I get another version of Distant releasing another 6 songs where they can experiment and do stuff on that, rather than a full length of any one thing they're doing. I think that to me works.
See, what I think though is, if they did a full length, I think they could do so much with in between the tracks, you know, little interludes and little bits of kind of ominous stuff and atmospheric stuff that kind of blend them together. I'd love to hear like 45-50 minutes of this. I really would.
But you're asking for filler though, like, you know what I mean? What you're not getting is filler on their EP. They're not doing any interludes or that. They're just giving you, if anything, they're giving you straight from the source, pure Distant. And I like that. I like that in the format.
If I go back to that band that I was talking about, Aegaeon, they do a lot of that with their albums, where they have that kind of blend in between. And I think it would work perfectly with this band as well. Just give me a full length, please, even if it's just for me.
You've said it twice now. Let's just take like twice in the last 5 months. Just give him a full length.
I'll shut up about it after that. Just one album, that's all I'm asking.
He's going to start a campaign this year, just like Dave's one-man campaign for a full length. Interestingly enough, I've never listened to their full length. Did you go back and check it out? And it was it as heavy as this?
I don't think I did, actually.
Well, you see, for a man that wants a full length, they've got one out there. Go and check it out, and then come back and tell me if it's too much.
I will. I don't know when that album came out. How early on it came out.
He'll come back all smug and tell me that it did. Even if it didn't, he'll come back and tell me that it did. So I
kind of want a full length of what they're doing now, because those 2 EPs were fucking, like this one and the last one were absolutely stellar. So like, to hear a full length of that quality, that's what I want.
I'd be more inclined to listen to a full length of what they're doing on this EP than I would on the previous one. Just because I feel I think the stuff we were talking about, specifically with the guitar tone being a bit more kind of knife sharpy, jabby and the sidey sort of thing like that, and the fact that I personally felt like they were doing other things which were not different, but they felt just more comfortable in where they could slot things around in the songs. that to me made it sound a lot more interesting. It's still exhausting. Like 22 minutes of absolute fucking exhaustion. So like I the age is getting to me. I know you're older than me, but the age is getting to me, Dave. Like I get to a point where, like, when I listen to it, I just like, there's only so much stank face that one man should have to pull on the listening of any release. And I feel like I used my weekly allotted stank face just on an EP in 22 minutes.
My fucking cheeks hurt, man.
It's like there are bits where it's like we said it before. Like, I remember back in the day when I first heard fucking like bands like Amure, like, for the first time, and they were like that little bit heavier than the other stuff around. And I remember getting to a point where you would kind of like nervously laugh at how heavy some things were. And to see where we are now. In fact, we went to see Conan live, and I cackled like a madman all the way through their set, because it's just like, it's inexplicably heavy, and Distant are heavier than that, and it's just like, and they use it like it's like everyone should be using it, and that's I love that approach about them. Is it's not, well, look, we're detuning for this next release. This is their sound, and you get with it. Or you don't. I love that about them. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if you get your wish. I mean, I imagine the EPs have been mostly due to COVID. If I was taking a guess and a stab in the dark, plus the locations, you said that they're not all based in the same country. Much easier to coordinate an EP than it is to coordinate an album over those sort of environments. But clearly they could have released an album, because they've got 2 6-track EPs out in mere months. So that, they clearly have it in them to write enough material for an album. So I imagine when all the restrictions are lifted, you'll probably get your wish.
Hope so.
And then you get to tell me you told me so.
Nice. Okay, so rating wise for this new EP from Distant, Duncan, what are you giving Dusk of Anguish?
I mean, I still need to give it another couple of listens. I listened to it twice. I'm coming in on a 4 with this one, but I very much expect this one over the next couple of months, because I will go back to drop another 0.5. I've got there's stuff in here that I know if I spend more time with, I'm going to appreciate more. So I'm going to give myself that wiggle room, but it's a 4 just now.
Kyle?
I think I'll echo that. Nice, round, good number 4.
Nice. I will join yourselves with a 4. I really enjoyed it. I kind of another solid EP. I liked the small tweaks to the production. I thought that did make a difference. I thought it was just as good quality as the last EP. So I'm going 4 as well.
We are the 3 amigos. We are the 3 amigos. We are the 3
Well, we were, and then you started singing that.
amigos.
Thank you, Duncan.
You're very welcome.
This one drops on March 19th on Unique Records.
Jesus, how did you do that? It's already number 1 on Spotify.
There you are.
If you want to check these guys out, it's facebook.com/distantofficial. We'll put a link to their Facebook and to their Bandcamp in the description below.
If you want to lose credibility, Unique Reader Records, you know where I am. This guy.
Yes, thank you for checking out a review. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.